One of the most powerful lessons from the life of the Prophet ﷺ is that unity in Islam never meant to be uniformity. But today, many of us feel pressure to fit a single mold of what a good Muslim should look like. To pray exactly as someone else prays, to speak as they speak, to serve as they serve. We compare ourselves to others, and when we inevitably fall short of their strengths, we feel inadequate or even judged. But if you step back and look at the Prophet ﷺ's companions, a very different picture emerges. The first generation of Muslims were not carbon copies of each other. Far from it. They had different personalities, they had different talents, and different ways of serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some were wealthy, some were poor. Some were warriors, and some were thinkers. Some were born into privilege, and some came from slavery. Some were young and dynamic, others were older and steady. Yet all were beloved to Allah because of their sincerity, not because they matched a single template, because that single template did not exist. That realization is liberating. It means that our path to Allah can be unique to our circumstances and our temperament, just as theirs was. So in this video, I want to take you through 8 companions, 4 men and 4 women. And I want to show you through their personalities how diversity was not only tolerated, but it was actually celebrated in the Prophet's community. And by the end, I hope you'll see that you don't have to be anyone else to be close to Allah. You just have to be the best version of yourself and follow the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's start with the men. Abdurrahman ibn Awf was calm, diplomatic, and gifted in business. Wherever he went, prosperity seemed to follow him. He was the Sahabah who famously said, "Show me where the market is," in Medina. Imagine that. He was new to a city, a refugee. He had minimal to no assets. He had to work out how things were done in this new city, but he did, and he succeeded. He once again became a successful businessman in Medina, starting from nothing. Importantly, he didn't hoard his success. Instead, he lived simply and channeled his wealth into strengthening the Muslim community. He freed slaves, he fed the poor, and he kept giving. But what's key is that he was a successful businessman. And this was something that was celebrated. Now, contrast him with Abu Dharr al-Ghifari. He was almost the opposite, outspoken, blunt, and ascetic. He was famous for warning others about hoarding wealth and losing sight of the hereafter because he was worried that they would lose sight of the hereafter. Where Abdurrahman's virtue lay in using wealth as a tool for service, Abu Dharr's virtue lay in rejecting it altogether and speaking truth even when it was unpopular. If Abdurrahman represented the quiet financier, Abu Dharr radiallahu anh represented the uncompromising moral voice. And the reality is, they are both needed for a balanced community. They don't contradict each other, but provide a more complete picture of what to be and what to consider. Then there's Salman al-Farisi, who was reflective, he was inquisitive and collaborative. Salman al-Farisi radiallahu anh had crossed religions and continents searching for truth over decades. He was probably in his 50s when he became Muslim, but even after that, he retained the heart of a seeker. He was softly spoken, patient, and eager to learn. It was Salman who suggested digging the trench at the Battle of Khandak, and this is because it was a Persian tactic which was unknown in Arabia, and he suggested it and it was embraced. That single insight saved Medina. His personality shows how wisdom that comes from experience can enrich a community. Beside him stands Khalid ibn Walid, dynamic, decisive, and intensely courageous. Khalid was a natural leader with incredible self-discipline and a brilliant mind in military settings. It was under his command that small, outnumbered forces frequently overcame far larger armies through his masterful use of terrain, surprise, and morale. He was a true mastermind. Every hill, river, and formation became a weapon in his hands. He would use those to outmaneuver and outthink far superior forces until their strength crumbled. On the other hand, Khalid ibn Walid only narrated a handful of hadith, again showing that different Sahabah had different strengths. Taken together, these four men show a spectrum of personalities: the calm supporter, the outspoken ascetic, the humble strategist, and the courageous executor. The Prophet ﷺ did not try to make them copies of each other. He recognized their distinct strengths and he gave them space to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in ways that suited them best. The women around the Prophet ﷺ were just as diverse, and let's now look at four of those. Khadijah bint Khuwaylid was a mature, successful merchant who was also the Prophet's first supporter, the first Muslim. She combined wisdom with quiet strength, and she invested her wealth and status in the mission without hesitation. Her personality radiated stability. It radiated loyalty and leadership behind the scenes. She gave the Prophet ﷺ not only financial support, but emotional safety as well. She was a rock at the very beginning of his prophet. Aisha radiallahu anha was almost her opposite in age and style. She was young, quick-witted, and intellectually sharp. She was a gifted narrator and a teacher. She was deeply involved in public transmission of knowledge. She debated, reasoned, and became one of the most important scholars of her time. Where Khadijah's strength was stability and patronage, Aisha's was dynamism and intellectual brilliance. One anchored the mission at its start, the other spread its knowledge after the Prophet ﷺ's passing. So their contribution were both very powerful, but they were so different from one another. Then you have Nusaybah radiallahu anha. She was fearless, action-oriented, and very protective. She fought to defend the Prophet ﷺ at Uhud, and she tended to the wounds, and she took up arms when needed. She was a living embodiment of physical courage and direct action. Her temperament was active and outward-facing, showing that women too took on public, even dangerous roles when the situations called for it. Now, in contrast, Umm Ayman, Ethiopian by birth and caretaker of the Prophet ﷺ since childhood, embodied resilience and nurturing devotion. She was a living link from his early life to his mission. While Nusaybah was at the front line, Ayman kept faith alive through service, through care, and through endurance. She had a temperament that was gentle but unshakable. She represented the quiet strength that sustains a community from within. These four women also show a spectrum of personalities. You have the steady patron, you have the brilliant young scholar, the courageous protector, and the resilient nurturer. The Prophet ﷺ valued each and every one of them as they were, never forcing them into one mold, but allowing their unique gifts to flourish. So what does this mean for us today? When you see these companions side by side, you realize the Prophet ﷺ built a community where vastly different personalities were able to flourish and that he actually encouraged it. He didn't demand that Abdurrahman give up wealth or that Abu Dharr become a financier. He didn't tell Salman to lead armies or Khalid to sit quietly and advise. He didn't try to make Khadijah a public scholar or Aisha a silent patron. He didn't ask Nusaybah to stay home or Ayman to go to the battlefield. He didn't do any of those. Instead, he nurtured their unique strengths and channeled them for the good of the Ummah. Now, that is a powerful model for us to think about. Today, we sometimes equate righteousness with conformity. We think that everyone must look alike, serve alike, or express their faith in the same way. This is very unrealistic, and it's also not healthy. The companions show us the opposite. Sincerity matters more than sameness. Your path of service may look nothing like someone else's, and that is not only acceptable, it's part of the beauty of this religion. Maybe your strength is teaching, or maybe your support is charity, or maybe your strength is caring for your family or excelling in your profession with integrity. All of that can be worship if your intention is for Allah and for Allah only. You don't have to be a warrior to be brave, or a scholar to be valuable, or wealthy to be generous. The companions give us permission to be ourselves, to bring our unique gifts to the Ummah. So, brothers and sisters, unity in Islam never meant uniformity. The Prophet ﷺ built a community where people with vastly different talents and temperaments could flourish side by side. So don't measure your worth by comparing yourself to someone else's path, to someone else's achievements, to someone else's aspirations. Look instead at what Allah has given you. What are your skills, your circumstances, your temperament? And then ask yourself, how can I use this sincerely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? May Allah make us people who, like the companions, bring our unique gifts to His service and respect the diversity of our brothers and sisters. Ameen.